My name's John, and this is my wife,
Becky.
Yes, I think God teaches us to honestly to love one another and to really experience God's love for one another. I think you can't really do that very well in a church. So ideally, you'd want to do it in a smaller setting, like a home group, where you could actually meet with people, find out about people's needs, pray for people, and just help one another out and experience God's love that way.
Well, in a church, there is that going on to a certain extent, but I think in a home group, it's much more intimate. You get to know people at a much more personal level. I remember when I first joined Leeward, I really enjoyed the sermons and the people, and I remember the greeting time, we all say hello and we give hugs and hellos, and it was wonderful. But I remember that it kind of stopped there. And I really feel that the home group is an extension of that. Be able to take that and bring into a home environment where you can pray together, fellowship together, break bread together, and just really get to the depth of who the person really is versus just on more, if you will, a superficial level. So that's what I really appreciate having home group. There's a connectedness that you don't get outside of that. It's a leading question.
Miracles.
Well, I have been dealing with a health issue. I've had multiple myeloma. Actually, we're going to change this. But I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in August or July of last year, 2013. And I know that home group has been very supportive, and I know it's the prayer of the people, God's people, that's really taken me through this. And
2012.
2013. 2013. It was July 2013. So it's been like a year and a half.
So that would be 2012. Sorry.
Let's try that again.
Sorry. Yes. Start over. You were doing so well. I'm sorry, but you would. Yeah.
Okay.
2013 is like 6 months ago.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So.
Okay.
Tell me.
Okay. So let's start over again. Because I didn't know you want. You're gonna hear that and say, oh, that's wrong. So.
True.
You're gonna say a year and a half.
All right.
Okay, go.
So try again. Tell me. How
You were
long
diagnosed.
Thank you, honey. He's such a good helper, isn't he? But anyway, so in July of 2012, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is actually a bone marrow cancer. And I know that it was through the home group and through God's people that a lot of prayers were being petitioned. And I really felt that God answered prayers. And right now my health is better than before I even had the diagnosis. And so I really feel that God has performed a miracle in my life. And the church and the home group have really been a part of it. The healing process has been,
Yeah, supportive not only for Becky but for me too. And I think it's great to have people just to gather around you and just pray for you and be supportive and care for you. And I think that can be done best in a smaller group like a home group. I had reservations as well. It's hard for me to always open up and be vulnerable, but I think when you're in a group of people that you get to know, you don't have to do that right away. Just get together with the people, and I think it's just a natural next step for you to, as people care for you and pray for you, to be able to feel safe in that environment and to get to know them. And after that happens, then it you start to experience God's love, in a bigger way.
I had moved here from California, it was 4 years ago, and I started attending Leeward, and I enjoyed the church and everything, but I didn't feel at home in many ways. I really enjoyed the worship and the sermons and so forth, but I really felt that I didn't belong, if that makes sense. Even though there were lovely people around, I needed to be more connected. And I think going to a home group allows me to know people again. I keep going back to that because I really think a church is made up of people, and God has called us to really fellowship together. And I think that in a home group, you can really have true fellowship. And I think it was after I joined a home group that I remember feeling like I was at home. You know, because back in the mainland when I was in California, I had a lot of brothers and sisters that I was friends with. And I remember just being here, being new to the area, I really felt that going to church wasn't enough for me. And God should be enough, and He is, but we also need to have God's hands and feet, you know, that can be expressed through other people. And I think home group was a place where I can feel God's love. I can feel His hand in my life. People are actually reaching out in a very tangible way to let us know what that is. And so to me, home group is a place, and especially, we have a lot of people that are new to the church, and you come to church and you leave on Sundays, and church is not the same when you just go and come on the Sunday. But to go to home group on a weekly basis, you get to really feel like you're part of the church. So that's why I think everybody should be part of a home group. And we like it so much, we belong to 2 home groups.
Which home groups?
Well, we belong to the Thornburg's home group. That was the first one we joined. And then we're now part of the wonderful career group.
Young.
Well, I don't.
The young career.
The young career?
Early career.
Early career, that's it. The early career group.
It's now titled One. It was World of last week.
Oh gosh, yes, we were there.
One. It's not the loneliest number.
Oh, God.
Yes, okay.
We want you to move on.
You guys are actually leaders in your second home group. Tell me about that experience.
I have lots to say about that one. I really feel that as believers, God has taken us through different things. We all have different journeys, and we have all different God stories, that I call them, that we can tell. And I think as leaders, I think God has called us to really share our wisdom to those in our lives. And I think He takes all things and brings glory to Himself. And whether it's good or bad, to share our testimony, to share who we are as people, to speak into people's lives, that's truly a blessing. And I really feel that is what God has called us to do, is to be able to witness to all the things that He's done in our lives, and be able to share it with others.
Well, I think that the leading a home group is important because you have to be more involved, and you have to, when you get a certain point in your walk, you want to share more with that, and you want these experiences to be shared with other people, with more people. And the only way you can do that is to have more home groups. And I think that it's just an exciting time to be able to bring a new group together and see the people kind of gel together and start caring for each other, things like that.
Because we do learn from each other, and even though we're the leaders, we are constantly being blessed, and we learn from those in the home group, whether they're younger or older. God can speak through all of us, and I think that's the beauty and the benefit of having home group, is that we can really fellowship, and the Holy Spirit moves us, and there are things that I walk away with and just feel, wow, that was from God. And those are things that you cannot happen when you're sitting in your room or by yourself. You have to be with God's people.
Yeah. Initially, we thought that it would be hard or complicated, and you'd have to lead all these people. But I think the way that it's structured, at least in our home groups, is that everyone takes their little tasks, and you're able to delegate what's going on, and so it's not really so hard. You're essentially just facilitating these people to get together, and everyone kind of takes turns doing a little, whether it's worship time or prayer or even the snacks or the food. So it's a shared thing, and it becomes, and I think as people do that, they feel more in touch with the group. They feel that they belong and that they're contributing. I think that's a good thing.
I always feel very lifted up after I go to home group, and I must confess there's probably been a couple of times I think I'm so tired, and I would be maybe a little spat. I don't want to go to home group, and I would be driving to home group, and I remember just always afterwards, and even when I go there, I just feel okay, everything's fine. It's just it puts things in perspective, and I'm always glad and always blessed after I go and after I fellowship, and so it's always a good experience. But yeah, sure, there are days you come home from work and or not work, and you're busy all day, and you come home, you don't necessarily want to go someplace for home group for 2 hours. I mean, people think about that, sure.
Growing together and spiritually, and being accountable to one another. And I think it's important, no one's perfect. Everyone has their troubles, has their problems that they're going through, and for me, it's always great to get together with the men in the group and pray and share about what's going on, and they can pray for you, and you can come back the next week and say, hey, yeah, I did great, or I didn't do so great, and they can, we can just talk about what happened, and get support and prayer, and maybe even a few good ideas, on how to deal with what you're going through.
And to also bear each other's burdens, whether that through prayer, through just even talking and through sharing. I think when we share, I think it takes the load off, and we're able to give it to God. And on a practical basis, even helping, whether it's cooking a meal for somebody, going with someone to a doctor's appointment, or when they're in need, you just want to be there. And when you don't know someone well enough, you're not able to express those needs sometimes. And I think home group is a place where you can really be God's hands and feet.
Yeah, and you can do community service things too. You can go out and you can actually, get together and just go out and have fun, or you can actually go out and do some community service by helping other people out, people who are needy, whether it be like River of Life, get together as a home group and help that out, or go out and serve food during Thanksgiving or anything like that. It's always kind of cool, and it's a lot easier to do it as a group than by yourself. So, and it's rewarding.